So first of all, again, welcome for coming to this training. I hope that once you're done with the training, you will have a much better idea of what are the steps and what you need to do in order to run a contest. And again, if there are any questions, please feel free to look into them. As I mentioned, this is the second part. The first part, I talked about the rules. I think Rhonda is gonna publish those on the website. So we're gonna have all these slides and supporting material that I will be talking about. We're gonna put them on the district website for everyone to have access to. And there's gonna be a session next week where Grace is gonna talk about judging and the process for protests. So that's gonna be presented by Chris next week. I think it's Tuesday next week. These are the main points we're going to be touching in this presentation. First, just where to get started. And that's actually one of the first things. Like, there's a huge task. What's the first thing I have to do? The next one is key, the list of volunteers. You need a lot of people to run a contest. And I'm going to go through the list of everyone that you need to ask for volunteering to run these contests. The next thing is going to be scripts, and scripts are very important because if you do your scripts properly and you prepare them with a lot of effort, what's going to happen is when you are at the day of the contest is going to run smoothly because everything is already, you see that everything you need to say, the timing of every event is already set in the script. So you just execute through the script and things run really smoothly. So it's very important to put a lot of effort into scripts, and that pays off at the time of the contest, where there are basically no surprises because everything is taken care of. And I have a checklist for the contest chair, for the chief judge, and just a general procedure of what's the order of events that happen during the contest. Especially that's for someone who hasn't attended a contest where have like, no idea what's going on. For those of you who have attended a contest, it's going to be very familiar. But someone who's new to this, I think it's important to know in advance what to expect in terms of the procedure. And then I have a lot of resources. I just have screenshots of them, and then those are the ones we're going to place on the district website for you to access. But that's
Hi. Sorry, quick question.
Yeah.
I am new to Toastmasters, as well as this is my first meeting. I wasn't able to attend on the 12th. Is this meeting for people who are wanting to compete in contests, or is it for people who want to host the contest?
It's for people who are going to host the contest.
Got it. Okay. I was looking for more of the former, which sounds like it's not this venue.
No, this is to plan to execute the contest. So if you're a contestant, basically the contest chair is going to give you documents to sign, and then there's going to be a briefing where you would be there's going to be a briefing where everything of the process during the contest is going to be explained.
I see. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Apologies for the interruption.
No problem. So, yes, as any big task, you have to start from the beginning. So if you are the area director, then you probably will be the contest chair. You're going to be in charge of organizing the whole event. The first thing I suggest you do is select a chief judge. And why? Because there are a lot of tasks that need to be done, and some of them can be done by the chief judge. And that helps you split the task, and then not everything has to be done by you. So selecting a chief judge is very important, especially far in advance. That's the first thing I will do is think about who will be the chief judge and start contacting them and asking if they want to help. If you find a chief judge that has experience, then it's actually better because then they're going to be aware of what's the process. Or it doesn't have to experience them, but basically what you can learn while preparing the contest. find the time and date of the contest.
Here.
Yeah. Well, is there any question?
Alexa, stop.
That someone is here? Okay. So it's very important to advertise the time and place of the contest, because everybody needs to be aware of where it's going to be, and they need to put in the schedule. In general, you want to start advertising 6 weeks to 4 weeks before the contest, so everybody knows the deadline, and then you can prepare accordingly to it. If you don't have enough time to advertise, then you might run into issue where people are not going to be available, and someone who might want to help probably might have some other commitment. So advertising it and everybody knowing when it's going to be, it's very important. The district has the calendar, so as soon as you know the date and time, then you should put it in the district calendar, and all the contests are listed there. So anyone who wants to attend can go and look at the calendar and show all the areas, contests, and the division, and all the levels. So it's very important for planning, to advertise that. And the next step you want to do is to go ahead and get all the paperwork. It's very important to have the forms to certify the eligibility for contestants, for judges. There's a lot of paperwork, and the first thing you want to do is collect that paperwork and start sending it to the appropriate people who are going to need it. The last point is something that it's just more for organization, but it turns out to be a really important tool to know where you are in terms of collecting all the forms. You can generate a spreadsheet. I'm going to show an example of one we've used before, where you're going to put all the names of the volunteers, the email address, which clubs they belong to, and stuff like if the club is in good standing, if the member is in good standing, if they sign the forms, if they provide, for example, their speech title. There are a lot of details that you need to gather, and keeping them in a single location becomes very important to be able to be organized and not miss things. So creating a spreadsheet, blank one, and start putting names and dates and all that useful information, it's really useful. That is gonna help reduce your stress a lot if you make good use of that spreadsheet. So I said you need a lot of people. So chief, the contest chair, it's the first person in charge of the contest, the chief judge, sergeant at arms, depending on the contest, if it's evaluation or table topics, the function of the sergeant have become more important because they need to work with the contestant. They need to take them apart during some part of the contest and start bringing them back. For humor speech or tall tales, it's not as critical. There are not as many functions, so it becomes a little bit easier. The contest Toastmasters, if the contest chair wants to be the Toastmaster for the contest, then that works out. You don't need anyone else. But if you want to be more in the background and let someone else be the Toastmaster, then you need to recruit that person. And you could provide them with the scripts that are prepared to go through the contest. For evaluation contest, you need a test speaker. It needs to be a member of the solid department. You need an interviewer. Some people in a contest, there are two contests basically, in this case, for this year, the humor speech and the international speech contest might want to have two interviewers. One that depends on how many volunteers you have. You have a lot of people who want to help, then you can use two interviewers. For an online contest, Zoom Master is very important because that helps run the contest smoothly. At different points in the contest, you might need to have a break room, send the judges there. You need break rooms at the beginning for the briefings, and all that needs to run as smooth as possible. Otherwise, you get interruptions in the contest, which and create confusion. So someone that has experience in Zoom, it's important. When the pandemic started, nobody was an expert in Zoom, so it was more difficult to find someone that was proficient with it. These days, a lot of people use it not just for Toastmaster, but for work, so it might be easier to find someone that volunteers for that role. Now, the chief judge, and that task could be divided between the contest chair and the chief judge. It's to find the volunteers for judging, for tie-breaking judge, the ballot counters, and timers. So as you can see, it is required a lot of people and a lot of coordination to make sure they all know what they are doing, and they provide you with all the forms and stuff that some of them need to keep you before the contest. As I mentioned, the scripts for the briefing and the contest are going to be to Lifeline. So just put a few notes here that they ensure the contest and the briefing is going smoothly. And also they allow you to make sure that you hit all the key elements. There are things you need to do, you need to ensure that everything has been briefed, that the contestants meet the requirements of eligibility. There are a lot of things you need to say. Some of them were already mentioned in the previous training. So the script, when you go through it, you can review that all those are done properly. And you basically gonna need 3 scripts: one for the contestants briefing, one for the judges briefing that they usually happen in parallel. It tend to happen if you can do it before the contest 1 or 2 days, then it's better because you probably have more time to do it. Or a lot of contests, you just call everyone half an hour before the contest starts and then do the briefing at that time in parallel. That works too. And then you need the contest script. I put 1 per contest because you want 1 for your humor speech and another for your international speech. In this case, they're closer to each other, but when you have table topics or evaluation, then they are slightly different. So these are basically all the steps, the checklist that the contest chair needs to go through. So the budget that if you're doing online, probably you don't need any budget basically. But if you're doing it in person, which this year it could be only part of the district, and then you need to think, well, are we going to offer refreshment? You need to pay rent to be in a place in person. So in that case, the budget would be important. Based on time, as I mentioned, it's key. And the agenda is also very important because when you get to the contest, everyone needs to know who are the contestants. At that point, probably you need even to know what the order in which they will be competing, and then the overall the timeline of the events. So if you're running 2 contests, it can take up to 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on the number of participants. So having an agenda and trying to keep things moving as possible to the times that you put in the agenda becomes important because it is a long event. So if feel like some parts are getting slower, then you can keep track of time and see where you are with the agenda and try to moving along. Supplies, especially if you're meeting in person, you're going to need more supplies. You're going to need a lot of paperwork, certificates, and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be your responsibility to arrange for that. The certificates of participation, they don't need to be ordered. You can bring them. Well, that's part of the packet from Toastmasters, but you need to have them, and you need to send them after the contest to everyone who volunteered, to all the participants, to recognize the effort that they did to won the contest. Download the speech contest material. I have a slide with that. Basically, from Toastmasters, you can get everything. Select the chief judge and provide the ballots so the chief judge can distribute them to all the judges and forms, timers, and ballot counters. And there are supporting roles, so you need to fill them out. Those are basically on the previous list. There's more stuff to do for the contest chair. You need to notify the district. In this case, usually it's done through the website, but you need to notify the officials of the time and place. The contestants is very important, the time of the contest and the briefing, because they need to be there. If I can emphasize, it becomes a little bit difficult if a contestant doesn't show up. At some point, they might not be able to participate if they don't show up to the briefing. So it's important to be there. Promoting the contest, you want as much people as you can be present to enjoy the contest. So if you promote it in the community, between clubs, then the more people that attend, then it becomes more interesting. There's a briefing, as I mentioned, yeah, that's done before the contest. And to every contestant, you have to give them the rule book so they can read through it. They can know what's the rules they need to abide by. And this document is the speech contestant profile, and that's going to be used for the interviews. There are some questions there that ask just what are your hobbies or some quote that you like, and during the interviewer can read that and use it as a guide on what to ask the contestant. And more importantly, the certification for eligibility and originality. We touched about that in the rules in the presentation of last time, that you have to make sure that that contestant is eligible to be there by being a member and having also having good standards. So those rules are very important, and those forms you need to have them before the contest starts. Which yeah, I guess the line. Now, for the briefing, these are the main items that you need to include in your script. You need to make sure all the contestants are present at the briefing, and you have to make sure you pronounce their names. You want to review the rules with them, so they all are all aware of the rules at the same time, so they all listen to them from you, and they know they are aware of the rules. You do a random draw for speaking positions. That way, there is no preference in saying who goes first. So it's just a random. It's selected when everybody's present, and then it can be in the agenda and communicated to the chief judge. The timing protocol is also very important, because if you don't meet the time requirements, then a contestant can be disqualified. But they need to be aware of how the timing is going to work, and reminded of what's the minimum and maximum time that they are allowed. And again, just make sure that they are helpful and their speech is original. Now, that was the part of the checklist and script that the contest chair has to do. In terms of the chief judge, then the chief judge is the one who's in charge of getting the judges, counters, and timers to the type secret, as much secret can be, tie-breaking judge. Also, there's a speech training for the judges. We were going to have a session, and there's also a lot of materials from Toastmaster, which is important for the judges to look at it, to try to get an idea of how the judging process works. It's not just listening to a speech and just giving a grade, oh, I like this better than this one. There are guidelines that need to be followed, and it's important for judges to be aware and be trained. And also make sure the chief judge makes sure that the judges are eligible. That's very important. You cannot be a judge if you don't meet certain requirements. And then also you need to prepare the script for briefing the judges and timers in how things are going to work during the contest. This is the checklist for the briefing. You want to have all the judges have their ballots, and the ballot in the back of the ballot, there's a guide so they can see what are the elements that are being judged, and then when you flip it, you can see what's the intent for everyone. There's a bias and all that stuff that will be talked in the next presentation. So it's important that they have the ballots in advance so they can be familiarized with them. the contest rulebook, which everyone should have it to be on the same page, and the means to provide and collect the certification of eligibility to the judges. So during the briefing, as I mentioned, you're gonna review the ballot and the speaking area, explain to the ballot counter what's the procedure to count, how the points are given depending on first, second, or third place, what's the procedure if there's a tie. So when the ballots are being counted, everyone knows exactly what to do. And you need to make sure that the timers also know when to turn the background or the lights, depending on what they have, turn them green, yellow, and red. So it's very important because that's going to be the guide for the speaker. The timing is very important in the contest. And just the procedures, if during Zoom, then they need to have the background to make sure how they can change it, or if you're in person, make sure the timer is placed in a location where all the speakers can see them, and they can see where they are in their speech. Now, I mentioned I was gonna give a general timeline of the contest. So the day of the contest, as I mentioned, everybody wants to be there early because you want to start on time. You're gonna stick to that agenda as much as possible. If you're a contestant or a judge, if you have the briefing before the contest, probably you need to take half an hour to 45 minutes to go through that briefing. And then at start time, everyone is briefed, everyone is ready. So the contest chair or Toastmaster opens the contest. They thank everyone for coming. They inform that the rules have been reviewed, and also that's the speaking area. That way, the contestants know it, and also the judges and the public also knows that. You introduce a speaker. Once the speaker ends their speech, then there's a 1 minute of silence that's called after each contestant. And then you go to the next one, basically going through the speaking order. And once the last contestant finishes their speech, then you wait until all the ballots are collected. And once they're collected, then the speech the contest can continue. So what happens is at that point, the chief judge and the ballot counters, they go to a separate room. If it's in Zoom, it's a separate room. If you're in person, they physically move to a separate room where they count the ballots and then tally the votes and assess here, address any problems that could be happening. While that is happening, the interviewer interviews every one of the contestants. Generally, they ask which club they're from and how long you've been Toastmaster, and any question that comes from their profile is to try to get a better idea of who the contestant is, why they want to compete, or some of their likes, hobbies, stuff like that. Once the chief judge is done counting the ballots and they have all the final results, then they provide them to the contest chair, and then the results are announced. There any protests, they're done at that time. Now, if we have two contests, then it might be that the results of the contest are announced at that time. Then the next contest can start, and the same process. They often go through the same process the second time on the second contest, and then at the very end of the event, all the contest results are given and the winners are announced. That's the general procedure of the contest. So having a script, but you can see there are a lot of elements in it. But having a script becomes really useful because you can easily flow through it without getting kind of stuck on somewhere where you are or what you need to do. Well, the resources, as always, the district website has to be our first point of contact. As you can see slightly, well, right now it's empty, but as all the areas and should start scheduling their content, they're going to start showing up here. So you can always go here and see where when the contest for your area is or your division, and they're usually always there is registration link is going to be there. So when you register, you look for it and you can register and then get this to attend. And the results also show up here. So after the contest, if you're the area director, you need to log into the website and then post your results here besides sending them to the next, the officer that's gonna reach at the next level. So you can go look at the results and send them to the public. And then these contest resources, that's where there are links to things that are going to be very useful. So the first thing, as I mentioned, you have to do is get the speech kit. You need to do both for international and human speech. As you can see, it has a lot of files, but believe me, you're going to need all of them. But maybe not this. It's so, for example, the kind of stuff that's here, all the certificates for first place, second place, third place, participant speech contest, you need to give this to the contestants, you need to give it, as I mentioned, to the judges, to all the volunteers that help you give this certificate after the contest. The results form, all the forms that you need to provide that you present are here. So it's very important to give them out and then tracking that you're collecting them to make sure everyone has it. So everything that you're going to need in terms of the speech contest, all the files are here. And then you can get also the humor speech. It's going to look the same. Some of them are the same, but it's important to have them all. Very important. This is an example of the spreadsheet I was talking about. So basically, here you start putting all the names of all the volunteers. So as you start getting names and who's going to do what, you start putting them out here. They're a longer list for judges. If you're an area, you're in 5. But you might want to get an extra one just in case at the very last minute the judge doesn't show up, can make it as something to do. Then you have someone that you can rely on. So if you have 5 and one judge can make it, then you're going to be scrambling at the last minute to get a judge, have them fill their form. So it could be a little bit chaotic. So if you have an extra one, then that will help reduce that stress at the time of the contest. And you can use colors if you want to green, or if someone is, I don't know if they're coming or not, you put them as yellow, or you can use the colors as some visual aid for you. And so everyone that you need to complete all the names, and then especially for people who need certificates, you need to make sure if you send certificates or not, they're registered for the contest. It happens that if there's a judge and they don't have the registration link, then they can't attend. So it's going to make sure that you register for the contest beforehand. If they fill the paperwork, if they're eligible, if they could, so all these details are very important to make sure they are all yes. That's why they're marked here yes. You need to set them all to know at the beginning and then start changing them slowly. And then the club name, the email, all more information that you know for everyone. And for the contestants, it's going to be the same, right? All the information for the contestants, whether their certificates have been received or not. You can, there's an area here in the notes, probably you want to put the speech title because you need to have them available at the contest. So it's a good place to save the speech title when you're going to be presenting them. So this form, it could be your lifeline in knowing where you are in terms of preparation for volunteers and getting their paperwork. It's very important to have some form of organization, and this collects the data in a simple and very visual way. Another thing you're going to need is say the scripts, and this is just an example. I didn't put whole script, but basically it's going to be like your teleprompter. You start going through it, and you can type every single thing you're going to say. Good morning, welcome to area YY to the Masters. Well, meeting, and then you can just go through it and makes it very simple. So some of the items here in red, that's what's going to be specific to your area, your district, your division, your club name, everything. It's specific to you, but then the rest you just fill it with the specifics. Now, This script that we're going to share, it's basically just an example of something that we've used in the past, but depending on your personal style, you can customize it to anything you want. It's just a guideline. It doesn't mean that all this what it's giving us, that's what we have to use. You don't have to, it's just an example. And I will encourage you to just Google Toastmaster contest script. You're gonna find a lot of examples, and some of them might be very short and just give you guidelines, and that would be good for you. That's perfect. Or some of them are super detailed, and you can use them to read. That's something that suits you better. So don't take this as something that you have to use. It's more examples and guidelines that you can use, but please encourage you to search. Just Google it and you're gonna find a lot of examples from other clubs and areas and districts around the world. And you can use the one that fits the most. But having a script, as I said, is gonna be very important. For the contestant briefing, same thing. Basically, just introduce yourself, say this is what we're gonna do. Draw the speaking order, check your equipment, explain the rules. So just go through the script. You shouldn't make it so long that the briefing should be, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes at the most if you plan to do it for the contest, right before the contest. If it's a day or two, then you can take more time, but you have to make sure it's not too long. You can get up time for you to be able to start your contest. The next example, it's an example of our chief judge briefing all the volunteers. It's important to give your email, your phone number, and then just go through the steps. One very important thing, and I'm going to tell you a bit more later, is going to be for the chief judge to figure out how the ballots are going to be collected for online contests. So there are many ways you can do it, but you have to plan very well in advance how you're going to do it. If you're going to do it via text messages, well, you need to have all the phone numbers for your judges. Make sure that you have it, that you try it, and you send them a message. They reply back. So, you have that number correct. Or if you're going to do it online, I'm going to show an example of the online ballots. If you're going to do it like that, you're going to do a test before, so the judges and timers, they know exactly what the form looks like, how to use it, so that at the time of the contest, the votes get to you. That's one of the things. You don't want to just try to think of how to do it at the last minute, because when you are expecting the ballots and they don't come, the contest is stopped and everyone is just waiting. So it's very important for you to plan ahead and say, well, you're going to send to me by email a screenshot of the physical ballot. That's fine. So make sure everyone knows it and they can send you the email. You can receive them, or a text message, or any way you want, but just make sure that you have a very reliable way of getting those votes, and if you have a backup, that's perfect too. So that's why this cell phone number is there. Well, that's not my number. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But just a way that if anything happens, they can contact you. So that's something that you can give to me in advance and also remind other people. Another important thing here, kind of touch different. I have, for example, the ballots for Dodge 1, Dodge 2. What happens is if you have two contests, you need two separate ballots, or you need one ballot for the humor speech that's done first, for example, and then you have another ballot for the international contest. So you cannot, they have probably different contestants, so they cannot be mix and match. So one ballot for contest for certain contestants. And sometimes even happens that I've done before, we do two areas in the same contest. If you only have 2 or 3 contestants in one area and a couple in another area, you don't want to set up a whole contest. So you can share resources and combine 2 areas, and in that case, you need 4 ballots. You need 2 per contest. So if it's area 1 has 1 contest with 2 contestants, that's 1 ballot, and then area 2 has another contestant with another 2 contestants. That's another ballot for the same humor speech. They are not combined. So you need to plan all of that in advance. It's very important. Otherwise, if the judges are confused, then they're not gonna have the proper ballot at the right time. So it's important to plan for that ahead. This is an example of a ballot that was done by Judge Smith a couple of years ago. I've used them 2 or 3 times as chief judge, and it's very simple. I'm going to show you how the ballot look like, but basically like this. You can type anything you want here. This option 1, 2, 3, 4 are the names of the contestants. So you can enter as many as you want. So you can. So of course this list is repeated, name 1, name 2, 3, or 3 times, so they can choose first, second, third place. And when the judge gets the ballot, they just need to choose click option 1. That's the one that wins, and then they send it, and you get it in Google. So it's very easy. If all the judges click on their ballots and submit it, you can collect the results real fast. So it's a very easy way to do it. Let's see. So can you see my web page here? So we see.
Yes.
This is what the ballot looks like. So you can have more. You say, oh, I have one. All the names, and you're gonna test it. Here, this preview, you click on it, and this is what it's gonna look like when you send it. So whoever who wins name 1 wins first place, then second place, and choose them. You type your name because a ballot needs to be signed. So the way for us to say that you sign your ballot, it's you put your name on it. And then submit. And then when I click submit, the responses, then the responses are here. So that in the same ballot, when all the judges start voting, I can see the results being collected. So first place was name 1, second place, and so that makes it very easy to collect the result because they just show up here. You can see the result or individual questions or the voted what. So it makes it very easy. You just need to spend a little bit of time preparing it, just putting the names, putting the appropriate names, and then sending the link. You can just click the link, copy, and send it in an email, or from here you can send them. Send the emails of all the judges. For example, you put a list of judges' emails, and then they get an email which looks exactly like this. They just get this. So it's very easy. You just need to spend some time preparing it. And now we're gonna put a link of this folder where I have the templates for the contest, for the results, the timers, so you can copy them and use them as you want to do. If you want to use it, I've used it several times and I like it. That's something that we prefer to do online. Then this is pretty simple. You can just click on it and the results just show up. Basically, just sit and wait for this number to be. You have 5 judges. When this is 5, you have all your results, and then you can. It even creates creates a spreadsheet with the results. So you can copy the spreadsheet and then you can share them with the ballot counters. So that's the other thing, you need to share the result with the ballot counters. So if you're online, if you create that spreadsheet, you email it to them, and then everybody has the same spreadsheet to use it to count the votes. That's the other thing you need to think about. If you collect the votes, if you're online, you need to give them to the ballot counters for them to be able to count votes. So everybody needs to have the results. So you need to share them. That's another simple way of doing it. if anyone has more questions, something wants to explain with them, you can copy them or just let me know when I can share. That's something that for the chief judge, it implies a lot of work to prepare. But at the time of the contest, it's really simple, just to collect the votes and send it to the ballot count. The agenda, as I mentioned, is very important. It's a standard agenda where you have to list the district officers, the name of the area directors in your division, and then just only the briefing was half an hour early. Then the contestant names. If you have the order, you can put them in order. If not, you can put a line before them, and then everyone just when you announce it, they can just put 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on where they are. But the way in you can have here, even you can put speech names if you want to. You can put in advance, and just put the agenda. And of course, the script has to match and that's all I have. Thank you very much for coming. If there are any specific questions in the procedures, the scripts, or something, let me know, and I'll be more than glad. Once we're gonna stop sharing, so let's chat or something. Yeah, that's very much what it takes to run a contest. All the preparation, things you have to look at. Jeff, I see you have a question.
Yes, thanks for your presentation, by the way. I was just curious, when it comes to actually picking the contest date, I know everyone has all different schedules and different events planned. So what would you say are some good tips to keep in mind when it comes to actually picking that date?
Yeah, so, well, in general, the contests tend to happen either, if it's a weekday, you want to have it like 6 to 9, or they also tend to happen a lot on Saturdays, so you can have it Saturday morning. So it's gonna be possible to fit everyone's schedule, but at the same time, if you wanna participate, you're gonna have to try to find the time, right? So usually it's something like that. Either if it's a weekday, 6 to 9, you don't want to start too early, too close to 5, because then people don't have time to get at work, or you start at 7 and you're gonna run until 10 p.m., which is too late. In terms of when to do it, not just the day of the week, but in terms of timing of calendar months, in general, what happens is you're gonna have your club contest in January, then February are all the area contests, March are the districts, the division, sorry, and then the district is in April. So that's in terms of calendar month. The week of the day, some point you have to pick something, and then everyone has to follow. You want to, that's why it's important to do it in advance. Also, if you give people 4 to 6 weeks, then it's easier to have some flexibility. If you only give 2 weeks advance, you might not be able to find as many volunteers.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm jumping in, Ari. Just now I saw you're finished. I just want to apologize that I was not here to start off the session. It was my 7-year-old nephew's birthday, and so we had a family dinner, and it kind of ran longer than I expected. And in fact, my 1-year-old niece is over here, maybe getting into I don't know, something she shouldn't. Well, my brother's right over here. Anyway, that's all to say. I had family obligations, so but I trust you were in the best hands in the world in terms of contest stuff that you learned. So thank you, Ari, for taking everybody through this. If there was anything that any questions that you have after you log off here, I would say either send them to contest-advisor@tmdistrict38.org, and any emails that go to that email address will go to myself and Ari, or my email address is pqd@tmdistrict38.org. And also we will be, oh, here's the birthday boy. Here's
Okay.
Ethan. They can't hear you. I have the headphones on. But anyway, last week's session got posted on the YouTube page, and Ethan, don't touch the mouse. And it got posted to the YouTube page. If you didn't know, the district has a YouTube page, and we're actually going to get a link to the video recording from our website, and we'll make the PowerPoint deck available to everybody as well. So last week's session and the PowerPoint, and then this session and the PowerPoint will make available to everybody. So yeah. And then we're going to do the same thing with Tuesday's session. Tuesday is about judging and protest. I'm going to be leading that one. We'll record that one, same thing. So it'll be out there. So if you want to reference it, it'll be there for you to. You want to learn about speech contest, Ethan?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. He's basically a Toastmaster now. I mean, he's the most well-spoken 7-year-old I've ever met, right? Yeah, he's already gone into the front of the school board and spoken. So that's how well he is. So, right, Ethan? Future Toastmaster. Anyway, so I'll pass it back to you to Ari, in case anybody has anything else they want to ask you.
Michael Brown.
So yeah, that's pretty much all I have. So there, Jeff, you have another question?
Yeah, I'll pop into one more question. When it comes to recruiting volunteers to help out with the contest, is there a pool of volunteers that the district has, or is it pretty much just who you know and who you've pretty much met through Toastmasters, whether at the club or district level?
It's pretty much trying to. So you're an area director. You want to try to get members from the clubs that are going to be participating, or if you know from some other clubs outside of your area, then. So yeah, there's not a pool. There's you need to try to go around and these people from different clubs trying to help you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? So, well, thank you very much for coming. If there